The Fresh Catch project is a simple demonstration of maintaining data persistence from session to session. And in performing that, we have a list collection that has the data of our fish that's being displayed in the label on this application. But that fish is coming from a data file that we will read in with a stream reader and read line by line and populate that list. We can make changes to the list by using the plus sign button here to add a fish or the minus button to remove a fish. And as that data is changing, it will reflect that on the label, but we'll also use a stream writer to write that new data back out via a write line method to the same data file. So next time we read the data file back in, it will be the updated list. The data file is named freshcatch.txt. It's a text file with each fish on a separate line, and it's located in the same directory as my executable file so that it's easy to find it from our program. We have to specify a path, we just specify the file name. And we'll open up that fresh catch and we'll save that same file of fresh catch. Let's give this a try. I'm going to add a fish in here. And let's add salmon. And we'll say it's coho salmon. And I'm going to get rid of a fish. I want to get rid of the cod, but if I make a mistake, let's say I misspell it and put two D's, I'm told it's not found on the board. So I've got to be precise in spelling. We'll type in cod with one D, and it's removed. Let me end my application, and I'll start it back up. There's the application running again. Notice that cod is no longer there, but we do have our coho salmon. So the data persists from session to session. It's a very simple interface. The interface is a graphic that I created in Photoshop of the board with a black label over top of it. The data being written to that label, we have a BTN add and a BTN remove button. And I set the background color to a light blue. Here are the project instructions for the Fresh Catch data persistence project. With the alignment, notice I used Lucida handwriting font. That's available online at Hustedde.com. You can download and install it to Windows before you start Visual Studio, and it'll be available to you. I give you the illustrations for the input boxes to both add and remove a fish. And in both cases, we want to rewrite the data back out to that freshcatch.txt data file. So you saw the storyboard. The interface is very simple. It's just a picture box, a label on top of that, and two buttons. I give you some code to get started. We're going to use a list of type string. I named it fish, and I also set the data file as a class level string variable named file name. For the form load, we're going to call a method called getFish. That's going to read that data file and populate our list. And then an update sign, which will also go through the list and add those to the text of our label. The BTN add will prompt the user for a new fish via input box. Add that to our list, update the sign, and call the write data method. The remove button also uses an input box to get the fish we want to remove, deletes it from the list, sorts the list alphabetically, and calls the update sign. The add button also sorts the list alphabetically. And then we want to write our data back out once we remove a fish. So both adding and removing, we're going to write that data back out. So we need a data file. So we need a subprocedure called write data file that will take that file name that we stored up as our classable variable and use stream writer to write that data back out. We're going to use a create text method from file so that it's rewriting the data that's already there. Remember to close the stream reader and the stream writer when done. Test your project to verify that the data persists from session to session as you add and remove fish. So try this on your own, and if you struggle, what will follow is my code review. What we need to code here as far as the interaction is do a form load event handler to load the data in from the text file as soon as the application launches. Then we need to code the BTN add and the BTN remove buttons to to be able to add and remove fish from the day's catch. And in doing so, we'll modularize our code to update the label, sort the list, and persist the data by writing it back out to the text file. Let's jump over the code. So I have that fish list of type string, that's class level, and a file name of freshcatch.txt. That's my data file. Our form load, we're going to get the fish. We're going to call the getFish method and then call the updateSign method. Here is the getFish method. I put it in a try catch because that's often a place where things go wrong. Maybe the file's gotten removed or no longer exists, or the file name's changed. So when you're reading data from a file, and particularly if you're not using an open file dialog, you probably want to put it in a try catch. So I created my stream reader. I cleared the fish list. Didn't really need to do that because fish is empty to start with. Open the text file into the stream reader, and then do while sr.peak does not equal -1. It's going to keep reading until it's read through the entire file. Could have also used do while not sr.endstream. Both of those would work. So in my loop, I'm going to read the next line and put it into a variable called nextFish. That would be a string variable. And then if the length of nextFish is greater than 2, then I'm going to add nextFish to my fish list. I did the greater than 2 just in case you had a blank line, which would be a carriage return line feed. That would be 2 characters. So greater than 2 pretty much negates any blank lines that might be in that data file. I'm going to close my list, and then if something goes wrong, so if we hit an exception, we will tell the user that something went wrong reading the data file in a message box. Once we've loaded the fish with getFish, then the form load is going to call updateSign. And here is that updateSign. I'm going to sort my fish list. I'm going to set lblfish.text to nothing, to null. And then for each f in fish, lblfish.text equals, I'm going to concatenate plus equals a carriage return line feed and f.toString. Now it's going to put a carriage return line feed at the very beginning, so I'm going to get a blank line. So once I've gone through that loop, lblfish.text equals lblfish.text.substring2. And that's going to get rid of that carriage return line feed on that first line, so my first fish will be on the first line. The button to add a fish, we're going to name new fish a string equals input box. We're going to ask them to enter the new catch. Title will be add fish. If that new fish is not null, so if they clicked cancel, then this would end. But if they entered a value and clicked OK, we're going to add that new fish to our fish list. We're going to sort the fish. We're going to call that updateSign again. And then we're also going to call the write data file so that the data persists. Next is the write data file subprocedure. Open up a stream writer. Going to use create text of our file name. And then for each f in fish, we'll use write line to write that fish back out and close our file. Very simple. The remove fish pretty much does the same thing as the add fish, but in reverse. We're going to get that fish we want to remove. We're going to find the index of that fish in our fish list and put it into a variable called idx as an integer. However, if we don't find it, that'll be a -1. So if idx does not equal -1, so it found the fish, we're going to issue fish.remove and remove the fish that was entered, sort the fish again, call the updateSign, and call the write data file subprocedure to persist our data. If it didn't find the fish, then we show a message box that simply says the fish was not found on the board and ask them to try again. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Programming Practicum playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos I create, you can click my picture in the top right to subscribe to the channel.